Well, if you're glad to be here, say amen. Amen. I like going to church with people that like to be in church. I like it. I sure do. All right. If you got your Bibles this morning, find your way to 2 Chronicles chapter 32. And Lord willing, we'll jump back in and look at Hezekiah and the things going on there with him and things going on in the kingdom. And I'd like to tag in a little bit on what we have done in the past. And it's been quite a while. It's coming up on a month now since we've been in this train of thought as the Lord has swapped things around on us. We've had different occasions, Mother's Day and the God and country and all that. But He's led my heart back this way. And just to refresh everybody while you're finding your way there, we've been dealing with Hezekiah as he has inherited the nation of Judah and the city of Jerusalem. He's inherited it when it's been in a mess, and he has worked diligently and hard, and he's been in prayer, and he's done a lot of different things to try to get the nation back to where it needs to be the powerhouse that it once was, so they could stand against the attacks of those around them. And we've looked at several things. We looked firstly at him and how that he prepared the place of worship. Remember, he went in and they cleaned out the house of God, and they repaired it, and they worked on it, and they got it set back up. We looked at preparing the pieces of worship and how that he reinstated the priests and he got them back lined out and he gave them all their tools and all the instruments they were going to need to carry out temple worship. Then we looked at preparing the people for worship. And we looked at how that he went around and he called all the people in the neighboring lands and everybody in Jerusalem and Judah, even those of Israel, and they came in and they had those great weeks of revival, and that everybody was getting right with one another, and how that the Lord showed up in a great and mighty way. And then we preached last time that we were in this, out of this same chapter, we preached the first 8 verses on preparing to prove our worship, to prove that we had been in a state of worship. And we were trying to carry out or prove the idea of worship here and how that worship is essential in the Christian life if we're going to be able to stand against the attacks of the devil. If we have not found ourselves in a state of worship, we're not going to be able to stand when the trials and the temptations come our way. Remember the first time that worship was used in the Word of God. The first time that word shows up is Genesis 22, when Abraham is taking his son Isaac towards Mount Moriah, and the Lord has told him to go into the wilderness, and he would tell him what mountain to go to, and the Lord has said that one right there, and Abraham looks at his 2 servants and says, y'all stay here, me and the lad are going to go over to that mountain, we're going to go yonder, we're going to go on, and we're going to worship. We're going to worship. How in the world could Abraham, knowing that he's about to go up on Mount Moriah and sacrifice his own son, how could he look at that and say, we're going to worship? It would have been more fitting if he would have said, we're going to go up there and we're going to mourn. We're going to go up there and grieve. We're going to go up there and be tested of the Lord. But he didn't say that. He said, we're going to go up there and worship. Worship speaks to the state of heart and state of mind where we're in a full surrender unto God, a full trust unto God, a full dependency unto God, and fully in awe of God. That's what worship is. Worship is when there's nothing else. There's no other distractions. We get that one-on-one with God, and we can sit there and be in awe of everything that God has done for us. Abraham realizes at this point that he can't do it on his own, that he can't go on anymore without the Lord's help, that he has fully surrendered to the will of God, and he knows in the back of his mind that when he gets up there, God is about to do something big. I believe the state of trust that you can see there in the text, and I don't want to preach that text this morning. It's not while we're here. But you'll find as they're going up that mountain there, you know that Abraham took the wood and he laid it on Isaac, and he's got the fire in his hand, and they're headed up Mount Moriah, and they get halfway, 3/4, however far up it is, and Isaac looks at his daddy and says, Daddy, I see the fire. I got the wood on my back for the altar, so we got the altar to burn, we've got the fire to start it with, but where is the sacrifice? And remember what Abraham says. He says, God will provide Himself a lamb. Now, we've preached a lot of times that lamb, he's telling Isaac that you are the lamb. He's referencing that. But I wonder if the back of my mind, if Abraham has not already gotten so close to the Lord and realizing that God promised to make him a great nation through Isaac, he knows that he cannot be a great nation without Isaac. He's already got in his mind that God has already got an alternative lamb on top of Mount Moriah waiting on him. You know what that is? That's when he is facing an awful trial, an awful test, something that he could not make on his own, but he is in such a state of worship in his heart. He has such a dependency on God, such a trust in God, such a sense of praise for God, that he already knows that God is going to bring him out the other side. You don't believe me? Go back and read Genesis 22 again. He says, me and the lad are going to go and worship, and then we're going to come again. We are going to come again. Abraham already knew that him and Isaac were coming back down off Mount Moriah. He didn't know how God was going to do it. He didn't know exactly what was going to take place. He didn't know what was in store for them up there, but he already knew in his mind that God was going to provide another way out and bring them back again. That's worship. Worship is when you can look at something that you think there's no way through it, and God has been so good to you and proven himself so faithful to you that you can say, all right, Lord, I trust you. So they've been trying to get ready for worship. They've cleaned everything up. They've got their hearts ready. They've been in worship one with another. Now they've got to prove it. They got to prove it because the king of Assyria is coming in and he has plans to take everything they've got. He has plans to take over Jerusalem, all the surrounding towns around that. He is on the way and he is coming after them. And now they have gone through the first part of this chapter and they've tried to prepare the city to get ready for what is about to happen. So we've prepared to prove our worship. And I'd like to preach this morning on profiting from worship. Profiting from worship. Spoiler, they make it through this. God takes them through this. You might be here this morning and you might be going through something. If you've got a straight sense of worship and you've been one-on-one with God and everything is going on, you can have that peace knowing that God's going to bring you through it. I remember, and I've told the story before, when Sue and my nephew was born and had spina bifida. And everybody is running all over the place and things are so bad and everybody's upset and very emotional over it. I remember I called his daddy one day at the house and I talked to him on the phone and I just wanted to pray with him. Now, if you're not familiar with spina bifida, his spina bifida was at the base of his spine and it was open. His spinal cord was open to the outside world. He didn't lay on his back for months. He had to lay on his belly and they had to have surgeries and all these things. It's a miracle that he can even walk. But yet I remember calling his daddy and praying, and I just had such a peace. I just had such a trust in God that in my prayer, I remember praying and saying, and one of these days when he's out and he's playing sports and he's running and you can't tell nothing ever happened, remind us how good you were. And after I said that prayer, I'm like, you goofball. You've just prayed that, and more than likely this boy is never going to be able to do the things that everybody else is doing. Guess what he's doing now? He's playing sports. And he's running around. And he's doing everything that everybody else is doing. And if you didn't know his history, you never would know it today by looking at him. What is that? That's what happens when you just give it all over to God and you've got just a faith and a trust that he's going to take you through it again. And he does. And he does. But that's what we're at, and that's what we're dealing with here in the text. The trial has come. The storm is here. In verse number 9, it says, after this, did Sennacherib, the king of Assyria, send his servants to Jerusalem. But he himself laid siege against Lachish, and all his power with him, unto Hezekiah, king of Judah, and unto all Judah that were at Jerusalem, saying, thus saith Sennacherib, king of Assyria, whereon do you trust, that you abide in the siege in Jerusalem? Whereon do you trust? What has given you this hope? What has given you this comfort? What has given you this level of faith that you can trust that you're going to be able to stand against me? Doth not Hezekiah, verse 11, doth not Hezekiah persuade you to give over yourselves to die by famine and by thirst, saying the Lord our God shall deliver us out of the hand of the king of Assyria? And that is exactly what Hezekiah is doing. Hezekiah has seen the writing on the wall, so to speak. He knows the king of Assyria is coming. He has got everybody inside the town. He's rerouted the springs inside the town. They have water. They prepared themselves for a siege. They prepared themselves to be under attack. And now they're sitting there and they're just waiting on God to deliver once again. They're waiting on God to show up once again. And that might be us. We might be sitting there and we've got trials and troubles on the horizon. We've got attacks on us. We feel that the devil is closing in. We feel like things are stacking up against us and we can't make it out. But I want you to realize the same God that helped you last time is still there. He's still on the throne. He's still loving. He's still ruling. He's still touched with the feeling of your infirmities. He still cares for you, and He's not going to leave you nor forsake you. Hezekiah said, all right, I know that it doesn't look good. I know that the numbers are not there. I know that things might not look good to everybody else, but I want you to know something. We got something that they don't have. We got somebody that they don't have. He says there in verse number 8, let me back up just a hair. Hezekiah is talking and he's trying to tell his men to be strong and courageous. In verse 8 he says, with him, with the king of Assyria, is an arm of flesh. But with us is the Lord our God to help us and to fight our battles. And the people rested themselves upon the words of Hezekiah, king of Judah. He knows it don't look good. He knows that it might be tough. He knows that the odds are not in their favor, but he knows that they have brought flesh to a God fight and they ain't got a chance to stand against this. But I want you to see some things here in the text. 4 things this morning. Now I'll be as quick as the Lord allows me to be. Notice the adversity of God's people. The adversity of God's people. What all is stacked against them? The numbers are against them. The numbers. It doesn't give you a number in this account, but it does tell you the parallel account, 2 Kings chapter number 19. You can go and you can look at that if you want to. There's a lot more details of the text there, but I figured we'd stay right here. But in 2 Kings 19, you'll find that there's at least 185,000 in this army. At least 185,000 men have walked up to the gates of Jerusalem, have begun to surround the city of Jerusalem, and they're sitting there waiting for the answer, waiting for the bugle to sound. They might go in and fight Jerusalem. 185,000 people is a lot of people. The odds are against them. The numbers are against them. You'll find not only are the numbers against them, but the necessities are slim. He said in verse 11, did Hezekiah not lock you up in here so that you could die of famine and thirst? What was the whole point of a siege back then? Cut off the surrounding area and starve them out. Make them run out of water in the city. Make them run out of food in the city. The necessities appear to be slim. But then I want you to realize that not only was the numbers against them, the necessities are slim, but the naysayers are loud. They're loud. Isn't it always wonderful when somebody is the loudest voice you can hear and all they're doing is telling you how bad things are? And they're in your ear saying, you'll never make it. It'll never work out. You can't win this battle. You can't stand against that. You might as well throw in the towel. You might as well give up now. Be like Job's wife over there in the text. After the Lord has given free rein to the devil to hit Job and to hit Job's body, his wife comes in there and says, would you just curse God and die? Just be done with it. The naysayers, they always show up when we seem to be facing our biggest trial. There's always somebody there to let us know how bad things really are. Might be a poor example, but I think y'all will like it. I played in an alumni baseball game not too awful long ago, a few years ago. We had just had Darden, so I guess it was in spring of 23, I guess it was. And I went to play, and we're at North Pontotoc, and they had a pitching machine set up. And they were doing a home run derby beforehand. Ain't none of us hitting home runs anymore. We done lost all that. So we decided that no matter if we were going to hit home runs or not, that everybody was going to do it just so we had 10 cuts of BP, Jake. Because we ain't swung a bat at a ball in 10 years. We needed to try to swing the bat and see what we could do. So we get up there, and the pitching machine's throwing like 60, 65. It ain't nothing, man. We're hitting. We're doing good. We ain't hitting no home runs. But we're hitting the ball. We're feeling good. We're feeling confident. We get back up there to play the actual game, and they're still throwing off the pitching machine. But they cut that thing down to about 45. I mean, it's throwing lollipops up there. I can't wait back. I've told y'all that before. So I get up there, and I've got in my mind how the thing was when it was during BP, and I get in the batter's box, and I've got my stance, and I'm sitting there, and I'm ready to rock. They throw that thing. I got my timing down. Whiff! I completely miss it, man. I mean, I probably blew everybody's hats off in the stand. I whiffed it so hard. Next one comes back, and my heart is slower. I got to wait. Wait. Swing. Woof. Whiff it again. I'm about to strike out off a pitching machine in front of all these people throwing 45 miles an hour. I'm already feeling down. And here's somebody in the stands. I'm not going to tell you her name. Y'all okay? Y'all know what I'm talking about. But all I hear from the stands is, you better not embarrass me. Like, you got to be kidding me. So I get my right foot and I put it out of the batter's box. I'm nearly to the grass at this point. They throw that thing. I'm like, if I strike out here, my wife's probably going to leave me. This ain't going to be good. So I get that thing and that ball comes and I smoke a double off the left center wall. And I'm rounding the bases and Sue's like, see, that wasn't so hard or something like that. She's naysaying me over on the side. I'm like, I don't need you. I'm in the middle of my own trial. I don't need nobody else telling me how bad it's going to look. I already know how embarrassing this is about to be. Sometimes we get in our trials and it feels like nobody is there to help us. Nobody is there to strengthen us. Nobody is there on our side. It seems like the other is true. Well, what are you going to do about this? Well, that ain't going to work. That ain't going to work. Well, if you know what everything that ain't going to work, why don't you come up with something that will work and actually help me every once in a while? You ever met anybody like that? Come around, they look at something that you've done, you worked hard on, it's like, look better if you did this. Or why'd you do it that way? You could have done it like this. Or why'd you do this? Or why'd you do that? I did that because I wanted to do that. If you ain't got help, go on somewhere. Sorry. I'm going to put my flesh in my pocket. I'm going to leave it alone the rest of this time, okay? Sometimes we don't need anybody else to tell us what we should have, could have, would have done. We need somebody to jump in and get alongside of us and help us. But instead of having a lot of help, a lot of times we ain't got nothing but naysayers. Here comes the king of Assyria. I'll be the king of Assyria. I ain't never been royalty before. This will be fun. Y'all are going to be all the folks inside Jerusalem. There's a wall in front of us. He's standing at the wall and he's saying, hey, all you folks from Jerusalem, how's the water situation? How's that bread? Is there any left in there? Did Hezekiah not tell you to go inside there and shut up the door so that you could all starve? Look at all the people I got with me. Y'all can't win this battle. What's that doing for everybody inside Jerusalem? That morale is going as quick as it can. There's no way you can stand against that. Naysayers. Too many of them. Verse number 12. Hath not the same Hezekiah taken away his high places and his altars, and commanded Judah and Jerusalem, saying, you shall worship before one altar and burn incense upon it? What has he done? All he's done is set you up for failure. There's no way that Jerusalem's going to stand against the attack of the king of Assyria. There's no way they can stand against this army. It might be that every once in a while when we hit a trial in this life, it seems like the little old cartoon devil steps up on our shoulder and begins to whisper in our ear and says, you'll never make it. Look at all these people around you. They act like they love you, but they're all fake. They don't really care. They want to watch you fail so they can go talk about you at the restaurant and they can go gossip about everything that's going on. Oh, they got all these nice words, but they ain't really there for you. Oh, all the naysayers. Ain't nobody there to really help you. You can't make it through that. They don't know what's going on. You ain't got no hope. Anybody ever been through a trial like that? Anybody ever got to a point in time in their life and you feel like the devil is just giving you the what for and you can't do nothing to get out from under it? You got no hope. You're distraught. You're broken. You're depressed. You're anxious about everything. You're stressed out of your mind. You want to pull your hair out. You feel like nobody's on your side. Nobody cares. Nobody understands. Oh, it don't get like that, Brother Easton. Let me tell you a conversation I had with a 14-year-old boy. He come to me at Locust Grove. His family was running around crazy, trying to find me one night after Bible conference. We're on top of the world. Everything is great. The services have been wonderful. Like 9:30 o'clock at night, something like that. Where's Brother Easton? Where's Brother Easton? We need Brother Easton. I'm like, I'm right here. What do you need? He needs to talk to you. He needs to talk to you. Like, okay, where's he at? He's in my office. I'm thinking he needs to get saved or something like that. That's what I'm hoping for. I walk in there. What's going on, buddy? He said, I've been thinking about killing myself. 14-year-old boy. Been thinking about killing myself. Why? What's going on? Normally there's a trigger. Normally there's something. Are your friends picking on you? Is there somebody at school? And this sounds bad, but this is a teenage boy. Did she break your heart? Did your girlfriend leave? What was the thing? If your parents cast you aside, I know it's not that. I know it's home life. I know how loved he is. No. He said, I'm discouraged because it's such a dark world that we live in, and I just don't even want to live in it anymore. 14-year-old boy. You know what happened? He was hearing the whispers. The devil had got on his back, he got on his shoulder and began to whisper all the wickedness in the world and show him there's no hope, there's no light, there's nothing else left anymore, nothing worth living for. That's the way the devil works, is it not? That's what he did to Job's wife. What he did to her. Got in her ear and said, hey, you want all this to stop? Just tell Job to kill himself. Just curse God and die. Just be done with it. The naysayers will get in our ear in this day and time and they'll make us feel like there's no hope, there's no way out anymore. Oh, but there is a way. Matter of fact, that's his name, ain't it? I am the way. How about that? When we can't see a way, he makes a way. Now you tell me what kind of hope the town of Jerusalem has got right now. When the town of Jerusalem is sitting there and they're looking at an army over 185,000 strong. They're looking at their dwindling supply of food, and they've got one spring that we know of in the town, but they got everybody trying to drink out of that spring. They look at their hope, and they look at their necessities and everything they got, and they are running out. Ain't no way we can do it. They're already in a vulnerable spot. But if that wasn't enough, not only is there adversity on the people, but you'll find there's an attack on God as well. An attack on God as well. Verse 13. Know ye not what I and my fathers have done unto all the people of other lands? Were the gods of the nations of those lands anyways able to deliver their lands out of my hand? Oh, Jerusalem, I know you got a God you worship in there. But look at all the other gods that I've already beat. Look at all the other gods. Every other land, everything they tried, I already beat all their gods. I already beat them all. No other God could stand. You go read in 2 Kings 19, you'll find that Hezekiah, he's going to go, and spoiler alert, he's going to go and pray in the temple, and he's talking to the Lord, and he says, Lord, it's true, they have gone, and they have beaten all these other people, and they have destroyed their gods. What he's saying is true. There's been no little g gods able to stand against the king of Assyria right here. Oh, I've tackled a bunch of other gods. I done beat the gods of the Philistines or the Moabites or the Egyptians or the Hittites or the Ammonites. Anybody around there, all them ites, I done beat every one of them. Their gods couldn't do nothing. What do you think your God's going to be able to do? No other gods could stand. But not only that, he goes on. Verse 14, who was there among all the gods of those nations that my fathers utterly destroyed, that could deliver his people out of my hand, that your God should be able to deliver you out of my hand? Look at all the other gods of this land. Look at how great they're supposed to be and how great their civilizations and how many people worship them. They couldn't stand against the king of Assyria. What makes you think God, Jehovah, could? He goes on down. Verse 15, now therefore let not Hezekiah deceive you, nor persuade you on this matter, neither yet believe him. For no God of any nation or kingdom was able to deliver his people out of my hand and out of the hand of my fathers. How much less shall your God deliver you out of my hand? You hearing that? This man is standing here screaming over the wall, hollering at Jerusalem, saying, hey, look at all the other gods I already beat. You know what's different about all them other gods? Most of them civilizations had a lot of gods. They didn't just have one. They had a lot of gods. He said, take for instance this town over here. They might have had 5 gods, and I beat all 5 of them at once. This one over here might have had 10 gods. I beat all 10 of them. And now I come up to Jerusalem, and how much less shall y'all single gods win the battle? He said, if all the multitude of gods couldn't do it, how much less shot does God, your single God, have? That's why he brought up that about Hezekiah getting rid of all the altars and making them just have one. He said, you put yourself in a tight spot where you only have one chance, only have one God, only have one option. I like my odds, to be honest with you. I like my odds. When I've run out of all chances and all hopes and all other lifelines and all other avenues, when the last thing I got is God, I'm still doing pretty good, ain't I? I'm still in a pretty good shape. How much less shall your single soul God be able to stand? Whoever they fought, it didn't matter. None of these little g gods could stand. When the trials are at the gate and we have to pick something to trust on, We know that the little g gods won't work. That's the same thing today. Back then, all them little g gods wouldn't work, and they won't work today. Today, we have so many different avenues. Troubles and trials come. It feels like the storm is at the front gate. It feels like the devil is knocking on our heart's door, just waiting for a chance to come in and destroy our life. It feels like things are falling apart and everything is going bad. And we go and we depend on everything under the sun, try every avenue that we possibly can. None of that works. The money ain't going to do it. The medicine ain't going to do it. The therapy ain't going to do it. The holistic medicine ain't going to do it. You can try to depend on all wives' tales if you want to. It ain't going to do it. The drugs and the alcohol, the denial, none of those avenues will work. The things of this world that they try to put in their heart, it will not work. It won't. It will not work. You can't fill a Jesus-shaped hole with the things of the world. It does not work. Never will. That woman with the issue of blood in Luke chapter number 8. I love that text. She's sitting there and she's had an issue of blood for 12 years. She's unclean. Anything she sits on, anything she touches, anybody that's around her is unclean. She ain't been able to worship like she's supposed to because she's unclean. Therefore, she can't come before the temple there and worship. She's out of touch with God. Her family can't be around her because then they'll be unclean. She's out of touch with her family. She's all by herself. She's got no hope. She's wasted her living on all the physicians of the land. Nobody had an answer till one day she come by and she grabbed a hold of the hem of his garment and he said, "Oh, somebody touched me." And they said, "Jesus, Lord, you're walking through the multitude, and the multitude is throng, and they're hanging off of you like crazy. And you mean somebody touched you?" Oh, yeah. Somebody touched him. Go look at it, Luke chapter number 8. Go look at that word, somebody, where it says, "Somebody touched me." It's got a capital S. It's got a capital S. You know what you capitalize? Proper nouns. We don't know her name, but he knew her name. He knew her name. And she touched him, and when she touched him, he said, "I'm enough." You might have tried everything under the sun. You might have given your money to everybody in this place. You might have tried all there is to try. I ain't being mad. I ain't trying to be mean. I'm all for doctors. I love them. I'm glad they're helping me when I have a headache and I need some help. But at the end of the day, when things get rock bottom, a doctor is not going to be able to come in and fix all the problems of my heart. I can't do it. And while I'm on that matter, the preacher can't fix all the matters of the heart either. There ain't but one that has that ability. He's up there. I want to help. I want to pray. If nothing else, I want to be like that parent when the kid comes in to get their first shot, and you just got to hold their hand and tell them it'll be over in just a minute. If nothing else, I at least want to hold your hand while we go through it. They look around and think, there's no way. There's no way. We've tried it all. No other gods can stand against them. It's not possible for a lone God. There's no way this is going to happen. But if it wasn't enough to attack the ability of our God, in verse 17, he wrote also letters to rail on the Lord God of Israel. In that letter, he detailed what he intended to do to Jerusalem. He detailed how bad he thought God was and how he thought God was weak and how that he intended to come in and make a show of everything that was going on in Jerusalem and how he was going to sack the city and he was going to own the city and everything was going to go bad. He had a lot of things in that letter and he railed on God. He railed on God. He gave him everything he could and he talked so bad and he blasphemed the darling God that we serve, the Creator God, God Jehovah, the Alpha and the Omega. He went and he railed on him. He gave him everything he had. He gave him all the bad that he could. He had nefarious letters about him. He wanted everybody, not just those under the sound of his voice, but he wanted it to go into the heart of the temple, into the hands of the king Hezekiah, to hear how bad things were. And that wasn't enough either. He began to nag on the soldiers on the wall. Verse number 18. Then they cried with a loud voice in the Jews' speech. They weren't speaking Assyrian anymore. They swapped it up. They began to speak Hebrew, the language of the Jews. They began to speak that unto the people of Jerusalem that were on the wall to affright them and to trouble them. They might take the city. They swapped over from speaking Assyrian and they began to cry out in their own tongue they can understand. Look at us! Look how many of us there are and look how many of y'all there are. Look at all the weapons we have and look what y'all don't have. This chicken leg sure is good. Don't you wish you could have one? But you're in that city starving. Oh, think about all the gods we already beat, and all the cities that were bigger and better than you that we already tackled. They began to holler at the ones on the wall. They began to let them know how bad things were going to be for them. Oh, you can't do it. Oh, you can't make it. You know why they attacked those on the wall? Because those on the wall were protecting those inside the city. If they could take the wall, they could take the city. Can I make a sidebar mini sermon right quick? We ought to be standing on the wall of some things and guarding some things. Moms and daddies, you ought to stand on the wall and guard your kiddos. We ought to guard our church. We ought to guard our homes. There's a lot of walls that God has called us to stand on. Who is it that has to deal with the most? Who is it that's hearing these Assyrians the most? The ones on the wall. You might feel like you're hearing more than your fair share. You might feel like the devil has got you on speed dial. You might feel like you're getting more trials than you could possibly hold, more things than you could possibly deal with. The weight's too heavy, you can't pull it no more. God, why don't you let him pick on somebody else? It feels like it's only me. It might be that you're on the wall and you're doing a good job defending your town. Doing a good job of defending your kids and defending your family. And because of that, the devil is on you hard because he's trying to make you fall so he can get to those inside of your wall. You keep standing on that wall. You keep fighting on that wall. But I want you to notice something. Verse 19, and they spake against the God of Jerusalem as against the gods of the people of the earth, which were the work of the hands of man. Old King Sennacherib is down there and he's hollering. Oh, think about all the gods we've already sacked. Think about all the towns and all the people that ain't here no more. And all the people in Jerusalem consider and say, oh yeah, but you haven't tried our God. You haven't tried ours just yet. You came in here talking and running your mouth like the God we serve is just some little wooden idol, just some little metal statue, something that we made with our own hands. But instead of us making our own God, God made us. You think you're going to come in here and walk all over us like you have everybody else. You think we're going to roll over and die. You think we're going to run away scared. You think we ain't got no hope. You said we only got one God. You said that it's not enough. You said that you beat gods before, but you ain't never beat our God. You ain't never had to taste our God. You ain't never had to face Him before. You'll know something? The devil has been trying for an awful long time to beat God. Anybody want to tell me a time that he did? What I thought. He ain't beat him yet. He ain't ever going to beat him. Matter of fact, you go look in the book of Revelation. During the millennial reign, rapture takes place, all that. During the millennial reign, you'll find that Satan is in the bottomless pit. And then after 1,000-year millennial reign, it says that he has to be loosed. What does that mean? It means the only reason he gets out of that bottomless pit again is because Christ takes the key. Lets him out for a little while. Lets him out, lets him run around for a little while, and then he comes back and he finally does what he said he was going to do there in the Garden of Eden. He finally bruises that head, Brother Barry. He finally bruises that head, and that's when Satan ends up cast into the lake of fire, and this thing all comes to an end. But he had to be loosed. Even in what is supposedly his great triumph where he takes over the world and the church is gone, the only reason he was able to get out is because Christ let him out. They might think that they've got us on the run. They might think that the town of Jerusalem, the city of Jerusalem, has no hope and no chance to make it through this. They might think that God can't handle it. But I'll tell you, He can. I'll tell you, He can. And He has. And He will again. Not like other gods. But you'll find not only the adversity of God's people and the attack on God, you'll find the attention God gives. God was watching. He knew what was happening. He knew the players at hand. He knew everything that was taking place. He already knew what He was going to do. Not only was He watching, you'll find that He was waiting. He was waiting. I believe He already had His plan together. He already had it geared up, ready to go. But you'll find there, and this is where your little piece of paper comes in. Let me read you this text out of 2 Kings 19. 2 Kings 19, 14 is the verse. And Hezekiah received the letter of the hand of the messengers and read it. What letter? It's that letter that Sennacherib, king of Assyria, sent towards Hezekiah. The letter in which he talked about how poor of a chance God had and how He was going to destroy Jerusalem, how that He was going to destroy the city and destroy their homes and destroy their families, how that He was going to take all their livelihood, He was going to take all their animals, all the stuff that He could come up with, all the naysaying He could do. He wrote a letter and He sent it unto the king. And Hezekiah is going to open up that letter. And Hezekiah opens up that letter and he begins to read it. And when he sees it, and he sees how bad the hand is that he's been dealt, and he sees how bad that it's about to be, Hezekiah went up into the house of the Lord and spread it before the Lord. What did Hezekiah do? Hezekiah had received this awful letter. He took that letter and he said, I can't handle it. All the things on here are awful. The trials ahead, the problems of life, the people that I love that He's telling me He's going to kill and He's going to take away. He takes that letter and he spreads it out in the temple before God. He says, Lord, look at this. Look at what they said is about to happen to my life. He begins to pray over that letter there in the temple. So what I want you to do with your piece of paper, that piece of paper is the letter that the devil has sent you. And I want you to write on that piece of paper the things that he has beaten you up with in your life. The test reports that you're dreading hearing about, the sickness that you got, the injury that you got, the wayward child that you got, the bills that we can't pay, the uncertainties of life, the troubles with the kids, the troubles in the marriage, the doubts that we might have that God's going to get us through anything. Anything and everything that you feel like the devil is just beating you up on, all the naysaying, all the things that he has said on your shoulder and began to whisper and said, you ain't going to make it. God don't care. You ain't going to get through this thing. You ain't going to be able to handle it. Everybody just tells you to pray and pray and pray, and it ain't working. It ain't going to do no good. All the things that the devil is whispering in your ear. I want you to begin to write those on that piece of paper. Because Hezekiah, he's looked at his letter that he's gotten, and he sees how bad it is. He sees what he's up against. He sees the troubles and he sees the trials that are coming his way. He takes it and he spreads it before the Lord. And Hezekiah prayed before the Lord and said, Thou art the God, even Thou alone, of all the kingdoms of the earth, Thou hast made heaven and earth. Lord, bow down thine ear and hear. Open, Lord, thine eyes and see, and hear the words of Sennacherib, which he has sent him to reproach the living God. Of a truth, Lord, the kings of Assyria have destroyed the nations and their lands, and have cast their gods into the fire. For they were no gods, but the work of men's hand. Wood and stone, therefore they have destroyed them. Now therefore, Lord our God, I beseech Thee, save Thou us out of his hand, that all the kingdoms of the earth may know that Thou art the Lord God, even Thou only. He's written all these things down in this letter, and he's looking at it, and he takes it into the temple, and he lays it out there before God, and begins to pray and look at that thing and say, God, look what they're saying. Look what I'm facing. Look what's at the gates of the city. Lord, I've tried to live for You. Lord, I've tried to lead my family right. I've tried to serve You. I've tried to do everything that I can, and I've got a whole letter full of all the things that the devil is about to do to me. It might be as you're sitting there and you're looking at your list this morning, you're thinking, Lord, I got a whole list of things that have been sent to destroy me. I've got a whole list of things that are here to pull me away from You, to ruin me. Lord, to break our fellowship, to bring doubt about, to make me bitter. Lord, You've got a whole list of things that the devil has tried to put into my life. And it might be this morning that you want to do what Hezekiah does. And you just want to pray about those things on your letter, but I love how he phrased it. He said, Lord, I need You to do something and show everybody else the type of God that You are. It might be as you look at your list this morning, you're thinking, God, I sure do want You to come and to help me through this thing. Lord, why don't You come and prove to everybody else around me that You still do miracles. That You still answer the prayers of Your saints. That You still love us, Lord. That You're still working for us. You're still on our side. Lord, prove it to all of them. all the naysayers, all the folks up and down the streets that say the church is a waste of time, the prayer doesn't work, that tells you to take your tithe and spend it on yourself because it's a waste of money, that tells you might as well quit living for God and go live however you want to, that tells you that Christ ain't real and He ain't coming back. All the naysayers that are whispering the things of the devil in your ear, the things that are wearing us out, the things that have got us so beat down and so low, it seems like times we've on the ground and the world is just stomping on us. Lord, all the stomps, Lord, all the bad words, all the things that have been in my life, Lord, I need you to show up big. Lord, I need you to clean up and fix these things and prove to everybody that you're still God. Hezekiah goes into the temple and he spreads that letter out and he begins to pray. You'll find another account of this in the book of Isaiah, by the way. Isaiah is the prophet at the time. And he begins to pray and he's asking God to show up and do big, great, mighty things and prove that He's God. When he does that, Isaiah sends a message to Hezekiah and says, hey, Hezekiah, you know what you were praying? Guess what? God heard it. And God told me that He heard it. And now this is what God's going to do. And God takes His angel and He sends His angel into the camp of the Assyrians in the night. And He kills 185,000 of them with nobody else even realizing it. They woke up the next morning, began to walk through the camp. They never heard a stir all night long. But the remnants of His army was laying all the way around Him. Isn't that just like God? All I need to do to fix the problem is let God fix the problem. Hezekiah is probably praying and might be thinking in the back of his mind, Lord, I need you to show up. I need you to make our men stronger. I need you to make our aim truer. I need you to make our sword sharper. I need you to do something so that we might be able to succeed. God's just like, I don't need you. I don't need your swords. I don't need your bows. I don't need none of that. I just need you to trust that I'm going to be God and I'm going to take care of you. And He shows up and He does that. Sennacherib wakes up the next morning and he sees the results of what God has done. How that God sent help to His people. He packs his bags and he heads back home. Never fired the first shot at Jerusalem. Never took the first life that we know of. Never got past anything other than just saying everything he was going to do. Oh, that'll preach right there. What did devil or what did God say to Satan there in Job? Satan, where you been? He said, oh, you know, God, I've been roaming to and fro. I've been looking for my next target. Have you considered my servant Job, how that he is perfect? Perfect. And the devil said, well, that's only because you won't let me touch him. He could talk to him. He could give him all the naysaying he wanted to. He could whisper all the hopelessness in his ears. He could try to do everything he could to make him doubt. He could even go to Jesus there and tempt him when he had been 40 days in the wilderness fasting. He could still go on to the very darling Son of God. He couldn't touch him. He couldn't hurt him. But what could he do? He began to whisper in his ear. Oh, I know you're hungry. It's been 40 days. Why don't you take these stones and turn them into bread? Takes him up into a great high place. He says, look at all this stuff that I could give you. If you'll just renounce your father and you'll worship me instead. He couldn't do nothing but talk. You ever met anybody like that? All they want to do is talk. Talk about how bad things are and all negative Nancy and how awful life is and how that God has put them through a hard time, how that He's not answering prayers and how that this is bad and this is awful and this is no good. All the time the devil gets on us and he whispers and he talks and talks and talks. But I sure am glad, just like here in the city of Jerusalem in this text, it never got past the talking. Never got past the talking. Because God stepped in and He fixed it. God stepped in and answered those prayers. And it doesn't just end there. He sends him away from Jerusalem, and you'll find Sennacherib, the king of Assyria. He heads back. He goes into the house of his God, little G God there. The Lord wasn't done with him. You see, because God can do that type of thing. He doesn't just have to work in our lives. He can reach way out and work somewhere else too. He reaches all the way across the land out into the house of that other God. That other God couldn't do nothing. He couldn't even stop our God from getting in his holy place. How about that? Because that's the kind of God we serve. He got all the way into that other temple to that little G God. And he made Sennacherib's old boys turn on him and kill their daddy. He ended the whole thing. Hezekiah did nothing but take it to the Lord and pray over it. You got a list this morning. I don't know what's on your list. Miss Angie, you can come on the piano this morning. I don't know what's on your list. I don't know the heaviness of your heart. I don't know your trials. I know some. I know some of the unspokens. I know some of the things that are bothering us this morning. I know some of the things that have given you a heaviness in your heart, but I don't know them all. God does, though. And you've got them on a list this morning. And it might be that just like Hezekiah, you'd like to just bring that list. Spread that list out before God and say, God, this is what's on me. This is my struggle. This is my heaviness. This is my battle. This is the storm that's coming my way. And I'm asking you, Lord, just like Hezekiah asked you, show up and prove to everybody around the type of God that you are. Show them all what you can do, Lord. Take my case and heal me of this sickness. Put my family back together. Help me at the workplace. Help me in my marriage. Help me do this and help me do that. God, I just pray that you show up, Lord. And in spite of me, you would do big and great and mighty things. That you'd help me with the stuff that's on the list this morning. Let's all stand, Miss Angie, as you play.